Welcome everyone to Fun Times. Today we're talking about the prince and his super reliable servants and their carriage repairs. Tough girl Annie didn't wait for anyone. She instantly shed her fancy armor and prepared to challenge the cliff's edge. Climbing the cliff like a champ, she suddenly faced a bunch of adventurers, and the prince got knocked down by a casual punch. Seeing the enemy was like a clown car, the prince quickly signaled Annie to get up. Then he pulled out his dual swords, ready to battle like it was a video game. Annie leaped in, ready to capture the prince, and within moments she became the new hostage. The prince froze, hands up, shouting, "Let me go, I have your mascot." Luckily, these bandits aren't too bad. The bandit leader cheerfully let Annie go, mockingly shouting, "Next time, please bring back my spoils, and I'd like to borrow a horse from you." The guy showed zero crisis awareness, eagerly waiting, and Annie had to ask 3 times to be sure he was serious. Annie walked over to the dazed prince, scooping him up like a superhero, while the bandits burst into laughter. The leader waved to Annie, "Come back, I'll give you a horse," and the prince experienced his first friendship with bandits. Quite unbelievable. The two sat in a corner of the cave, and under the flickering firelight, it seemed they entered a romantic dimension. Even the alcohol turned ambiguous. Eventually, the prince couldn't control his feelings anymore and kissed Annie, while the bandit leader and his bros cheered, riding their horses home. The two returned to the manor late at night, and Annie, to avoid the mother-in-law's scrutiny, suggested parting ways while everyone was still sneezing. "You changed my life," she thought, while those mysterious maidens are busy writing novels on that wooden silk. "Annie, I will try and wait for you one day." Today's experiences filled her heart with sweetness, feeling as if she were dreaming. But the wicked mother-in-law acted like a reality alarm clock, pulling her back from her sweet dreams. "What do you think you've done? Just wearing white clothes." They'd been drooling over Anna's mom's upgraded dress for ages, and perfect timing, since Annie was missing yesterday, gave them the excuse. Anna's absence was seen as a promotion from her maid status. "It's my mother's fault. What good does that do?" Hearing she's dead, the usually gentle Annie suddenly exploded with rage and punched her fake sister. Chase broke out in the room as Annie burned like fire in pursuit, and just as she was about to catch her, shouted, "Get away. No, let her go. These are my father's books and my mother's shoes." "Ulig will save you," she thought, struggling internally for ages, and finally chose to give up her shoes, while Marguerite remained silent, and not a single book or dress was saved, and Annie faced a family gathering punishment for resisting, which made her face reality. After realizing her unchangeable maid status, she was determined to head to the predetermined meeting place with the prince. When the prince saw her coming, he couldn't contain his excitement. "I feel like the muscles on these stairs are my only protection." He led Annie to an exploding plant's abandoned castle, bubbling about all the funny stories from his childhood, including tales of battles with royal family members. He slowly leaned in toward Anna's face. "I wasn't asleep. I'll wait until the dream wakes up." The prince adoringly gazed at Annie. Her serious face was irresistible. Annie felt embarrassed, but the courage to confess slowly slipped away, and finally couldn't hold it back anymore, escaping hastily. Meanwhile, on the other side, the mother-in-law found the queen, eagerly trying to market her daughter to the prince, but heard a jaw-dropping revelation. "My son recently fell for a girl, so I'm afraid I can't help you," the queen straightforwardly declined. Upon hearing the name, Nickernclade, the mother-in-law was suddenly stunned. Suddenly recalling the strange occurrences at the market and Anna's mysterious disappearance, everything clicked into place. Connections. That's terrifying. She felt this must be a mistake, and the queen responded angrily. The queen was misled by the mother-in-law, thinking Annie was a married woman, and if this were today, the prince wouldn't believe it at all. But Anna's odd behavior at the castle hinted that her mother might be right, and she hurried back to the manor. However, after having endured a barrage of verbal attacks, Annie ended up being imprisoned since the royal ball was drawing near. She worried that Anna's appearance there would ruin her plans, and on the day of the ball, the maids hatched a plan. Legendary artist Leonardo da Vinci was coming to the rescue, so the maids immediately sprang into action, tearing down wall-connected lotuses. Turns out the elderly man Annie rescued from the palace risked his life to break the news to his friend. Although she was merely a maid, she still yearned for the chance to attend a ball and felt a sense of helplessness and loneliness. Ultimately, Annie decided to head to the ball, watching the carriage leave, showered with blessings. She arrived at the palace just in time for the last moment of the grand opening, and the prince saw her at first glance, all the nobles stopping in awe. The crowd instinctively cleared a path, and suddenly Annie was before the prince, who stuttered, "You need to say something before another sentence. You're not participating." "No, I'm just making a serious mistake in my life." The prince was so excited he couldn't express it and wanted to introduce Annie to his parents, but just near the stage, the wicked mother-in-law appeared. Without a word, she ripped Anna's dress, and the prince was furious, about to blow up, but his mother stopped him. "Don't provoke her. She's just an ignorant thief." The subtitle shows the prince didn't believe his mother's words, casting a confirming glance at Annie, and it was only at that moment that he realized she was the maid who had thrown fruit at him that morning. Hearing her admit her maid's status, the prince's anger clashed sharply with his reason, ultimately opting for rage. He threw Annie out of the palace, and in her desperation, as she ran to the gate, she tripped, leaving a shoe behind, and Leonardo caught the moment.